If you are new to buying a short-term rental, Airbnb or VRBO, where do you start? Well, in this video, I'm going to present to you 4 easy steps to get you going on this amazing journey of owning and operating your very own short-term rental. I'm Evan Downey, and I'm a real estate agent in Dallas, Texas, helping first-time homebuyers and first-time investors find amazing homes without breaking the bank or spending months and making bids without winning. So if you are looking to buy an investment property this year, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so every time I release a video, you will be notified. So I'm guessing you are here because you are new to buying a short-term rental and you are considering how easy it is to get into it and what are those steps to buying a short-term rental. Well, there's a lot of people out there that say you should only buy a long-term rental, or they say just do a fix and flip. But in this video, I want to show you how easy it is, of course, if you have the money, to buy a short-term rental, and 4 easy steps to get you started. And just to clarify before I get started with the 4 points, I will be presenting these 4 points in regards to buying a short-term rental in a metropolitan area. So these won't necessarily apply to a vacation rental because there are very different strategies for vacation rentals, but there are some overlapping, but I want to throw that out there just in case you were only looking to buy investment property, short-term rental in a vacation type setting. So the first point I want to highlight is location. Of course, this is somewhat cliche when it comes to real estate, right? What are the 3 things that give real estate its value, the top 3, and then I'm sure you've heard it, location, location, location. Well, there's some truth to that because real estate is all about the location. You can't change the location of something you buy in real estate. So especially when it comes to short-term rentals, location is the number 1 important thing to consider. Now, when you are thinking of a metropolitan area, so a city that has a decent sized population, location is absolutely crucial. And when I say location, I want to highlight a few things, and mainly you want to be close to an airport, a downtown, an uptown, and an event center. So those are the main things you want to consider, because when people are considering doing a short-term rental in a big city, for example, like here in Dallas, they will oftentimes be coming from suburbs into the city or from out of state. And what they're considering is, what is it close to? Because usually they come from, say, out of state to attend an event. So you want to be close to event centers. You want to be close to where those event centers are. They typically are in the downtown of that city. And also, when they're looking at properties and shopping, they will be looking to see how close it is to the freeway. So you don't want to be off the beaten path with a short-term rental in a city. Of course, in a vacation rental, being off the beaten path could be very desirable, but not in a major city. So consider that. In my own property that I bought this year, I have it very close to an airport in Dallas, and also it's about 10 minutes away from downtown, from uptown. So you have to consider that. Now, another thing to consider besides being close to downtown and event centers is the walkability. Now, this is very desirable for people wanting to be in an area where they can walk to mainly parks, restaurants. I mean, really the walkability is very important. In my particular property that I got this year, the walkability is very good for a park, but not so much for restaurants or going to downtown or uptown, but it is no more than 10 minutes away driving. So if there's something to walk to, like a park, restaurants, any kind of shopping, that is very good, and you should also consider that. Number 2 is consider buying in a gentrifying neighborhood. When I say gentrifying neighborhood, I mean get into a neighborhood where it's still shifting from the population that's been there for decades and decades, and you could still get a very good deal. It's not too hot yet, but it's getting there. And so you really want to consider, are you getting a good deal? You don't want to overpay, obviously, for anything, but let alone an investment property, because you're considering getting good cash flow. And so don't buy something that is in a hot neighborhood or has the best schools. Why would you care about good schools when it's a short-term rental? And also, you have to consider not thinking about this house as if it's a house you're gonna live in, like with the best neighborhood. Of course, you want a good neighborhood without much crime, obviously, but it doesn't have to be in a neighborhood where you would live and raise your family. Really, it just needs to be in a safe neighborhood that's close to the middle of town, that is gentrifying, and you can still get a good deal. The house I got this year, the price per square foot was well below $200 a square foot, and the average price per square foot in Dallas is bananas right now. I mean, in the neighborhood I live in near White Rock Lake, it's now above 400. And so considering where you are buying in a gentrifying neighborhood is very important. Getting a solid deal that's below the market value as well is something to consider. But just remember, gentrifying neighborhood that has a lot of room for growth in the future but isn't there quite yet, and is also obviously a good location. Number 3 thing to consider is have a backup plan. What do I mean by a backup plan? Make sure that this home could be turned into a long-term rental if need be. Because what happens in cities, and it's happening in Dallas now, are the cities consider, well, maybe we should regulate these short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO. Let's regulate them, let's charge more taxes, or zone it differently. All kinds of different things can happen where your income can be affected on a short-term rental because of the laws of the land change in regards to short-term rentals. So the backup plan would be, firstly, what are the long-term rental numbers? If you were to rent this house out in a long-term way, say a year, does it have good cash flow? The main thing is you want a few $100s positive cash flow, obviously covering the mortgage payment and all expenses, but having a positive cash flow if need be. And in my case, I've run the numbers for a long-term rental. It would be great, but it'd even be better if I turn it into a crash pad. And crash pad is something for flight attendants or for pilots. If the house is near an airport, having a crash pad for them is really good. And so reach out to me if you have any questions on the crash pad. I may even make a video on that, but that would be my backup plan. 4th thing to consider is getting an agent, a real estate agent that knows investments and that is an investor himself or herself and knows short-term rentals. And unfortunately, it's just the way it is. Most agents are not necessarily investors or investor savvy. Of course, there are some that are, but most of them are not typically geared or think about homes that way in terms of long-term investment, or especially in this case, a short-term investment. So when considering a real estate agent, you really want to consider, has this agent done short-term rentals? Do they know the numbers? Do they think like an investor? And this may be the most important, are they an investor themselves? Because if they are, they know what you're going through and they could be in your shoes. It doesn't have to be that they are an investor themselves, but I think it's much better. Those are my 4 points, and I want to know, what do you think? Do you agree with these 4 points? Would you add any? Please, in the comments below, say something. Even if you disagree with one of these points, please let me know. And if you are a first-time home buyer or a first-time investor, in the comments below, I have my 3 biggest mistakes that first-time home buyers are making. that you do not want to make. So please download that. You can get it in the comments. I pinned it at the top below. And of course, please subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for joining me on this video. I'm going to be putting out a lot more investor-oriented videos just because I help a lot of first-time investors and savvy investors as well with short-term rentals and long-term rentals and even some fix and flips. So please reach out to me if you have any questions, and it's great having you on my channel.